So you've gone through the whole college application process and you're waiting for that letter because there's one college you really wanted to go to your entire life, but it's hard to get into. You finally get that letter, and sure enough, you've been accepted. Yet for thousands of students, they don't get that letter because they didn't know how to prepare for that college application process. Well, in this video, we'll be talking about how to prepare so you may be one of those ones who can get that acceptance letter from that dream college you hoped to go to. All right, let's get you prepared. We want to get you prepared by first talking about academics. Then we'll be talking about the extracurricular component of your application process. How about something not a lot of people talk about, but your personal brand so you'd stand out? 4, getting yourself ready for that college essay. And 5, being prepared so you meet all the deadlines. Well, let's jump right in. Obviously, colleges want you to be academically prepared. They want to know that you're going to be able to handle the work that gets you assigned to you at their college. They certainly don't want you dropping out because that doesn't look good on them. So they want to have a sense that you're prepared. So how do you showcase that? Well, let's talk about Emma. All right. Now, Emma, she grew up in a kind of a rural part of the town of her state. The high school didn't really have a whole lot of options. She was a good student, but she didn't have AP classes available to her in her high school. So she did her own homework. She didn't rely on mom or dad. She did her own homework and began to find out how she could get some AP classes. She realized that she could drive an hour and a half away to take some AP tests that would be given at another high school, but she would have to do most of the work on her own. And AP classes, they can be done online. So she arranged to be able to have that done, took the initiative. She took as many as she could, was able to drive down that hour and a half away to take the AP tests in a place that was a school where they have monitored it and all that stuff. She had done all that homework. The college was not only impressed by the fact that she did well academically and all that, but when she related that story about what she did to get the AP classes, they saw motivation, they saw leadership, they saw somebody who's going to be successful in their school. And she got into the school that she wanted. We do want to talk about extracurricular activities because colleges, and I've said this in other videos, but colleges are really looking for the quality of what you're doing, not just how much you do. Yes, they want to see you involved, but they would much rather see you involved in a few things that you do really well and are passionate about than trying to get involved in everything and only kind of do mediocre in each. So let's talk about Carlos. Carlos was a good student. He was involved in several things. He was involved in sports. But rather than do some of the other clubs which he had started out doing, see, Carlos came from a background where he's being raised by a single mom. He had younger siblings. He had kind of a chaotic kind of study environment, but he was self-motivated. His mom was as supportive, wanted him to do well, didn't want him to kind of fall in this kind of working poverty kind of trap that she had fallen into. So she was doing her best to try to encourage him, but he was self-motivated. So what he began to do was, first of all, he realized that even his siblings had a hard time studying, but not just them. There were a few other kids, younger kids in this kind of tough neighborhood who could use a safe place to go and study. So he went out into the community to try to find out, like, where could I set up like a study place and have set times for this. Well, bottom line is he did it. He got a little tutoring center where he helped tutor other kids, younger kids like him who needed a place to study. And he did this on varied nights. He worked it around his other schedule, his sports schedule, and all those other things. You don't think the colleges loved that? Of course they did. And he got into an Ivy League school one of his dream schools because of that initiative and that leadership that other people could do just as well as he did. Lots of college students don't really begin to think about what they're really trying to do, which is market themselves. And we can learn to take lessons from marketing and personal branding to showcase us, because really what branding is just, it's telling your story in a way that really shows off and exemplifies and highlights the things that really make you who you are in a very consistent way across all areas of your life. That's what branding is. Well, Sandra, she had it in mind. She wanted to become a journalist. She knew the school she wanted to go to. And her father had a marketing background. And that's what he did, marketing and branding. So she said to him, Dad, can you help me like brand myself for my college application? He's just kind of like, oh, geez, why didn't I think of that? Like, of course, absolutely. Yeah, like what? So that's what they did. They developed a personal brand where she was really able to showcase who she was, the motivation, why she wanted to be a journalist, all the work, and it was all geared towards getting into this school that was outstanding at journalism. Well, it worked so well. She got in all right, but also she and her dad actually created a little business, paid for her college. She got into journalism, and he left the company he worked for, started his own business, and that's what he does now. He helps college students develop their personal brand so they can get into their college of choice. He is very successful at what he does. With a college essay, this is something a lot of students dread, but the bottom line is you want it to be personal. You've got to be able to pour your emotion into it. You want to take a moment in your life. You don't want it to be biographical. And your life's better. It doesn't have to be your life. It could be an experience you witness, or there's lots of places you can take the story from. It could be some classmate who motivated you, excited you, who inspired you, right? Whatever. Let's take the case though of Gina. You see, Gina she was an adopted child. Her adoptive parents kind of knew some of the background. She had some trauma, and they wanted to get her a puppy. And this experience of getting the puppy, and this puppy being able to help Gina change her life, because the puppy was kind of the runt of a litter. And Gina just kind of took it as like, helped raise this puppy into a dog. And you know how dogs can be, right? If you think of some of the classic movies that were ever made with these dog stories, that's the relationship that this dog and Gina developed. And it really helped heal Gina, helped her really grow. It wasn't even a service dog, right? But that experience with this puppy and picking this runt of the litter out changed Gina for the better. That's the kind of story that when you tell that story and you can tell it with the emotions that she did, so that the people are reading it tearing up as she tells the story, that is the kind of essay that will get you noticed and remembered. One of the reasons that this whole college application process can be stressful, and by the way, 76% of students say they feel overwhelming anxiety in this whole college application process, is because of things like deadlines and these essays and interviews. And like, if you aren't totally sure, maybe you have a whole bunch of schools because you're an athlete and you're, oh man, I'm not sure this got a good program, this one's, and you start looking at all of them, deadlines and meeting those deadlines and make sure the essays are put together and the package are put together, and trying to put like the branding piece that we talked about, because you are going to follow through with that piece. But doing all those things can be overwhelming if you're not organized, prepared, and have a system in place for keeping track, calendars, using calendars, planners. Well, Johnny was one of these kids who like he's applied to like it's like a dozen different schools if I remember correctly, and he began to get overwhelmed, realizing like, oh my gosh, I got these deadlines coming up, and he's trying to juggle the sports that he's doing in school, and he comes home one day and like snaps at his mom. She's like, whoa, listen, don't do that with me. And it's like, and she reminded him of some of the mindset stuff that he used in sports. He said, look, breathe, go get on your bike right now, go for a ride, go to that trail you love, get outside, and think about what you need to do to solve the problem, whatever it is that's triggering the stress. So he did. And on that ride, he's like, I need to use my calendar. I got to get a calendar up on my wall right there where I do my homework, mark the days off when things are due, and then begin to schedule it out. And once he took control and did those things, and guess what? He made sure the college knew what he did and how he did it. Because that moment is one of those stories you tell in your branding and your essay or whatever else. And the colleges go, that's the kind of student we want. All right, so now you have it. Now you can really see yourself going to that mailbox, finding that letter from the college you wanted to get into, and just really imagine that acceptance letter and how good that's going to feel because you prepared academically, you prepared with the extracurriculars, you learn, I got to brand myself. How do I go about doing that? You got yourself meeting all those deadlines. You did all those things you need to do. So if you find value in everything I shared, I encourage you to subscribe to our channel. We're adding more videos all the time. You might be particularly interested in the video we have on how to prepare for the college essay, which was a component of this. We got a whole video out there on how to prepare for that, so check that video out today, and I hope to see you in another.